Distinguished delegates, please take your seats, please. Distinguished delegates, please take your seats, please. Distinguished delegates, please take your seats. I would now call this meeting to order, please. Delegates, I would like to inform that we would now like to take up para 12 of the, sorry for just a minute. Since we are moving very slowly and we have only 5 sessions and one full session, we could not even complete this CRP.1. So what I decided is that we have to be innovative in our approach, and therefore I would like to take up the CRP.2 and keep this CRP.1 for a while. It is parked aside, and we will take up para 12 of the straight away to the decision, which we are going, the draft decision, that is recommends it at 16th meeting, the conference of the parties adopted decision along the following lines of the financial mechanism CBD/SBA/4/CRP2. This we are going to take up now, and then we'll resume back again to CRP1, where we have left at para 4 of the operative part. So friends, please cooperate and try to understand that we have a heavy work to undertake. Therefore, this change has been brought about by me. Now, kindly go to CBD/SBA/4/CRP2 directly to para 12, please. Page 3/3/12. I'll give one minute for you to take up that, look at that CRP2, page 3/12, para 12. I'll be repeating. We are taking up now CRP2, that is CBD/SBA/4/CRP2 financial mechanism. We will resume, we'll get back to CRP1 where we have left after some time. But first, we will be discussing the para 12 of the CRP2, please. Your cooperation is highly solicited because we have to complete a very heavy work before us. So this, I feel that we need to deal with it, then we'll get back to CRP1. Friends, we are at para 12, which starts with recommends that at its 16th meeting, the conference of the parties adopt a decision along the following lines. This is page 3/12 of the CRP2. The first para starts with the words reaffirming the importance of the full applications of the provisions of Article 21. The floor is open, please. Russian Federation, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Co-Chair. Good afternoon. Just to like to check first whether you like to go paragraph by paragraph or how you like us to make comments.
Paragraph by paragraph, please.
Okay, thank you, son. I have for the second one.
Canada, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Chair. I just have a process question. Would it be possible to put the text on the screen so that we can see what we are supposedly speaking to? Thanks.
Kindly give me a few seconds, I'll get back to you. Canada, this generally for CRPs, they have not, they don't do it. They have not done in the subst also. So may I request you to look at the paras in your hard copies or soft copies in your this thing. This is CRP.2 paragraph 12, 12, please. Financial mechanism I mentioned just now. Sorry, I could not entertain your request for screening, display on the screen, please. If there are no comments on the first part, that is reaffirming the importance of full application provision Article 2, then we will be moving.
So that one's approved.
It is approved, please. Australia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Co-Chair. So yeah, we have several edits in the text. We'll begin with this one that you've opened on. I think, like many others in the room today, we're hoping that we can move through this CRP pretty efficiently without too much back and forth, noting that the items in the COP decision will ultimately go to COP, and further discussions might be needed there. So hopefully we can avoid a back and forth like ice hockey players hitting a hockey puck back and forth. In the first paragraph, we would like to see reaffirming change to recalling, to simply recall Article 21 here, to make it consistent with the later reference in the preamble that recalls paragraph 3 of Article 21. Thank you.
Thank you, Canada. DRC, you have the floor, please.
Oui.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. On this paragraph, number 1, it's important to note that Article 21 of the Convention has never been fully implemented. And for that reason, it's correct to reaffirm. So we would like the word reaffirming to remain. Thank you.
Thank you, DRC. Pakistan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. We support Democratic Republic of Congo, reaffirming the importance. So it is about the importance of Article 21. So reaffirming would be the right word.
Thank you, Pakistan. Brazil, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just like to remind us that paragraphs 1 and 2 in the preambular section are verbatim agreed language from decision 15/15. So I would hope that this room could move ahead quickly in terms of endorsing agreed language. Thank you.
Thank you, Brazil. Switzerland, you have the floor.
Yeah, just seconding Australia and the argument of consistency of language, and hence we would also prefer recalling to reaffirming. Thank you.
I'm bracketing it, please, and we'll moving forward, please. Next one, starting with welcoming the valuable role of the Global Environment Facility. The floor is open, please. DRC, you have the floor.
Oui, merci beaucoup, monsieur.
Thank you for giving me the floor again. On this paragraph, it's lamentable to note that sometimes in our decisions, we ask the COP to take decisions which violate the actual basis of the convention. That being the case, we welcome the role of the Global Environmental Facility, and let's take out an ongoing basis as well, because Article 39 of the Convention that we've all ratified states that the Global Environmental Facility is a mechanism that will be interim, only provisional. So we cannot today start to ask the COP to take a decision about a mechanism that is only provisional on an ongoing basis. Thank you.
Gabon, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Well, recognizing the pertinence of what has just been said by the DRC, we would like to understand in this paragraph the financial mechanism of the convention on an interim and ongoing basis. When would it take a permanent basis? When would that be? When will we have a financial mechanism that is permanent? Thank you.
Thank you, Gabon. Russian Federation, you have the floor.
Thank you, Co-Chair. Two changes. One is on the second line. After structure, just add one word, currently. And the second change, similar to what DRC suggested, as we also know that at this point of time, GAF is an interim mechanism, so we ask to delete and ongoing. So maybe after all our discussions, one day we decide to make this body or maybe another body the permanent financial mechanism, but that's not the point at this particular time. Thank you.
Thank you, Russian Federation. Canada, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Canada's preference here would be to keep ongoing basis, and as our Brazilian colleague has mentioned, this is agreed COP15 language, so our hope would be that we can all agree to this without brackets, but if we cannot, then we would request the bracketing of interim as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Canada. European Union, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. We would like to echo Brazil in saying that these two preamblers, in fact, are agreed language coming from. They are also in COP 15/15. So we would not like to touch them. Thank you.
DRC, you have the floor.
Merci.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I come back to the point that to err is human, but if we were to remain in error, then that would be a huge mistake. The decision of COP15, which spoke about the framework, was not examined at its adoption. And that's what explains that there are some mistakes, and it's important for us to correct them. We are the decision-making part for the convention, so we must take decisions which are in accordance with the text and the reality and what has already been agreed to. And it is that the Global Environmental Facility is an interim structure.
Thank you, DRC. Friends, wherever the COP language has been already accepted, let us not reopen those things, please. So therefore, we will move forward wherever the COP language has been accepted. We cannot reopen it again. Thank you very much. Russian Federation, you have the floor, please.
Yeah, apologies, Chair. So nothing in this instrument is carved in stone, including the text of articles of the convention. Every COP can change the convention if it wish and may agree on. So the time is passing and situation and life is changing. So, and also as DRC rightly mentioned, the way the text of the GBF was adopted, I think many remember that day. So we don't want to prolong the discussion. It's a COP decision. So Canada like to put interim, which is a language, a legal language from the convention. Okay, they can put it in square brackets. And then, of course, an ongoing will be in square brackets as well. And we can move to the following paragraphs. Thank you.
Thank you, Russian Federation. DRC, you have the floor, please.
Merci.
Thank you very much, sir. And that's why the DRC has always recalled the importance of the respect for rules and procedures. The 6 packages of decisions that should go with the implementation of the framework should be reviewed document by document at COP15, which is something that was not done. It was all adopted, as it were, by force. We don't wish to do that again and make COP16 adopt decisions which do not hold water. Therefore, we are persisting on the fact that in accordance with Article 39, as long as the text of the convention has not been reviewed, Article 39 is very clear that the Global Environmental Facility is a mechanism which is provisional. And this has been several years, and its provisionary nature is seeming to become an ongoing issue, and we cannot countenance that. So we would like to take out on an ongoing basis, because COP has not yet agreed that the GEF is to be the permanent structure as a financial mechanism. Thank you.
Thank you, DRC. Switzerland, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I asked for the floor before just to support your proposal of basically accepting language that we had previously accepted by this very same body. That's the COP, or well, we're not the COP yet, but going to the COP, and move forward. So I, support your proposal.
Thank you, Canada. Cameroon, you have the floor, please.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you so much, sir, for giving me the floor. Now, we would like to back the position expressed by the DRC, as well as by the Russian Federation. Now, looking at the temporary or preliminary aspect of it, now, wishing to find a compromise, we would be ready to accept the proposal which was made earlier, which is to speak only about the interim aspect and remove the ongoing basis. Thank you.
Thank you. Canada, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to clarify Canada's position because it seems like there was a misunderstanding. We are happy to go with the agreed language at COP15. The only time we would request brackets around interim if we were not going with that language, and there would be brackets in other places of the text. Otherwise, we're completely happy to go forward with your proposal, Chair. Thanks.
Thank you. We are moving forward with we are placing brackets here, and since there is no consensus. We are bracketing from para 1 beginning to the end of the para 2. It is bracketed, please. We are moving forward. Now we'll start with the third one. It starts with words recalling paragraph 3 of Article 21. Floor is open, please. If there are no comments, then we will be moving. This para, recalling paragraph 3 of our United Kingdom. You have the floor, please.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, everyone. So our reading of paragraph 3 of Article 21 is that the COP shall review the effectiveness of the mechanism, not must review. So we'd prefer to change it back to shall, so that they're aligned. Thank you, Chair.
Agreed, please. We are moving to starting with words recalling paragraph 3 of Article 21. Floor is open, please. Thank you. Recalling paragraph 3 of Article 21, which provides that the Conference of the Parties shall review the effectiveness of the financial mechanism. Approved, please. Friends, next one starting with reaffirming the commitment of the Conference of the Parties. Floor is open, please. No comments. We are moving on to next one, which starts with words also reaffirming the importance. The previous one, reaffirming the commitment of the conference, is approved, please, that para. Next one is, floor is open for this one, starting with also reaffirming the importance of the review. No comments, please. This is approved. The following one, starting with the words, noting with concern the lack of financial voluntary. Floor is open for comments. Japan, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a comment for the third line from the bottom. Towards the end of the third line from the bottom, there are languages resulting in the use of the core budget. We propose these words to be kept in bracket because it prejudges COP16 budget discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Japan. Brazil, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Chair. Regarding the comment just made by the delegation of Japan, could the Secretary clarify whether the use of resources from the core budget is something that already happened in the past, right? It's the budget that has been approved by COP15 and it leads up all the way to COP16, so it does not prejudge future budgetary conversations. Could the Secretary clarify whether this understanding is correct? Thank you.
Secretary, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, that is correct. This paragraph is in the past tense. It is referring to the fact that in order to undertake this work, we've had to draw on the core budget that was approved by COP15. So we're not looking to the future. That has been done. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Secretariat. Argentina, you have the floor, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. My intervention relates to what was said by Brazil and the explanation provided by the Secretariat. We're asking us whether we could take out the brackets around that phrase. Thank you.
Japan, you have the floor, please, whether you agree with that as a spirit of compromise.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If it means the previous budget, we can accept Brazilian proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Japan. Thank you. We are moving on to next one. This one is approved. The next starts with the words, taking note of the report. Floor is open, please. No comments. We are moving forward. This one is approved. Welcoming with appreciation the actions of Global Environment Facility. Floor is open, please. DRC.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I would like us to remain consistent. We've understood that many member parties have lamented the fact that they haven't got access to financing. So we cannot here, if we're going to be logical, welcome with appreciation. So therefore, I suggest we take out the words with appreciation.
Thank you, DRC. Russian Federation, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. So agree with the suggestion from DRC for the same reasons. And then we have one more minor change. second last line at the end of it. So the language here is talking about operationalization of the GBFF. Although if we go further to paragraph 10, we will see that we express regrets that certain elements are not done. So our suggestion is that we say, and the establishment and steps taken to operationalize the Global Biodiversity Framework Fund. That, in our opinion, will reflect reality, but also will be in concordance with the paragraph 10 below. Thank you.
Thank you, Russian Federation. Georgia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. So in the second line, after developing country parties, we would like to add and the countries with economies in transition, and we are happy with the rest of the original paragraph. Thank you.
Switzerland, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Chair. Well, we also are happy with the original language, and with regard to the Russian proposal, I would caution, before we have actually come to our paragraph 10, and also in view of the fact that this is a text that goes to COP, things may or will have changed by then. So I would either not include the Russian proposal or bracket it. Thank you.
Thank you. Norway, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We would also like to keep the original language, and when we get back to paragraph 10, to put it in a more of a placeholder, as we don't know what the situation will be at COP16, and it will, in our view, it will be operational. It is operational, the GBFF, and we will have projects approved in less than a month, which is before COP16. Thank you. So please, we would like to keep the original language. Thank you.
Thank you. Gaban, you have the floor, please.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Thank you, sir. We would like to back the proposal made by Georgia, namely to add countries with economies in transition. And the rest would just remain as it stands.
Thank you, Gaban. Zimbabwe, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. The original formulation of this paragraph was okay with Zimbabwe, but we also accept the proposal from Georgia, and then if we can keep the rest of the text as is, we're happy. Thank you.
Russian Federation, whether you would like to agree to retain the original word operationalization. So, floor is yours, Russian Federation.
Thank you, Chair. We would prefer to keep in brackets our suggestion, steps taken to operationalize. And of course, later today, when we go through other paragraphs, we may look at it, but also being at the COP16 and probably knowing more how the Global Biodiversity Framework Fund is operating and operational, and what is done and what's not, then we can make a decision whether it's already fully operationalized or it's just on some stages of its operationalization, and then we can change the text. Thank you.
Colombia, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Chair. Colombia wants to support the paragraph as it is right now. I think it's just describing what has been happening since COP15. Thank you.
Secretariat, you have the floor. Please read out the version. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair. Just to compare notes if we got it right. So on the first line, we would have a bracket between with appreciation. So it become welcoming, start bracket, with appreciation, close bracket. And then on the second line, after developing country parties, and then we insert and the countries with economies in transition with no brackets. And then going to the last line, we would have brackets, two brackets is alternative. So the first bracket would contain operationalization of, and the second bracket would be steps taken to operationalize. With that, I hope I got it right.
Thank you, Secretariat. We will be moving with those brackets into this. We are moving forward, please. The next one, starting with recognizing and integrated and indivisible nature. Floor is open, please. There are no comments, please. This para is approved. We are moving on to next one, starting with the words, noting with concern the lack of project proposals. DRC, you have the floor, please.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you so much, sir. Well, you heard it with me in a number of the plenary sessions. The parties who complained by the unfair treatment of projects submitted to the GEF. The paragraph here doesn't seem to truly reflect the situation, because it seems as if we're saying that countries are not submitting projects for the implementation of the Nagoya and Cartagena protocols. Whereas, truth be told, it's the GEF which tackles these projects in an inequitable way. And for this reason, the following paragraph. Noting with concern that the GEF does not take into account in a balanced way the proposed projects on biodiversity, biosafety, and access to genetic resources and the fair and equitable sharing of benefits arising from their utilization during the consideration and approval by the fund of these projects. I can read it again if you want, sir. Noting with concern that the GEF does not take into account in a balanced way proposed projects on biosecurity, biosafety, and access to genetic resources, and the fair and equitable sharing of the benefits arising from their utilization during its consideration and approval by the fund. Thank you.
Thank you, DRC. Nigeria, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm able to support DRC's proposal because based on what we heard in the plenary, this initial para contradicts with what we heard. And based on our experience, we've applied for project many times with Jeff on Catalina Protocol and Nagoya Protocol. And most of the time, they are not given priority by the Jeff. So based on this experience from our side, we're able to support the proposal from DRC. And rather than note that the lack of project proposal, which is not correct, we are able to support a proposal on reiterating that there is need for the Jeff to give priority as well to projects that are proposed in line with Catalina and Nagoya Protocol implementation. Thank you.
Thank you, Nigeria. Switzerland, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Chair. We would be more comfortable with the original paragraph as suggested, and if that's not acceptable to other parties, then we suggest to bracket both paragraphs, as it seems difficult for us to agree to the new proposal without the complete overview of all proposals submitted to the GEF on that issue. So that would be our suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you, Switzerland. Kotiva.
Merci. Thank you, sir. It's just to back the proposal made by the DRC and also backed by Nigeria. I believe that this is in line with what we're experiencing on a daily basis in our countries. Thank you.
Thank you. Canada, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Before we go any further, I am thinking it may be helpful to ask the Jeff for some facts on this concept of project proposals, and in particular, whether eligible countries themselves prioritize these proposals. So could we ask the Jeff for a comment on that? And otherwise, Canada is happy to go with the proposal by Switzerland. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I'll go to Jeff.
Yeah, go to Jeff first.
The floor is Jeff representative. The floor is, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A principle of the GEF is country-drivenness. Countries at the start of every phase of the GEF prioritize their use of GEF resources. We do not cast favor one way or another on what those priorities are. In fact, we encourage countries to submit proposals for the Cartagena Protocol and the Nagoya Protocol, but they simply don't get submitted. So what we've reported in this draft COP report for COP16 and every subsequent report is every Cartagena and Nagoya Protocol proposal that has been submitted to us. So just to recall, it is up to countries to prioritize their use of the allocation they get at the start of every phase. and we encourage more proposals to implement both the Cartagena Protocol and the Nagoya Protocol. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Jeff. Norway, you have the floor, please.
Thank you. Yes, we were just actually going to refer to the draft report from the Jeff in paragraph 41, which says during the reporting period, no projects were submitted by eligible parties to support implementation of the Cartagena Protocol. And in our view, we don't really see the added value of this paragraph, so we would actually suggest deleting it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Norway. European Union, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I took the floor before, I asked for the floor before the Jeff Secretariat intervened, so I was going to support as well to keep this text bracketed to allow us to have a further look at it. But hearing what we've heard now, I can also support Norway in asking to delete it. But in any case, we cannot accept this language for now until we've had a further look. Thank you.
China, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Chair. We support the proposal by DRC, Nigeria, and Côte d'Ivoire. We believe that the lack of a project proposal does not objectively reflect the fact or truth. It ignores the fact that some countries have submitted their proposals which have not been approved. We also noted Jeff's explanation. We believe that if we do not reflect the facts here, it might affect our efforts to improve the Jeff in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, China. Togo, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, sir. Now, the substance of this paragraph highlights the discussions which we held during the previous COP-MOP. And if you will recall, a decision had asked for a special unit for biosecurity, biosafety, I apologize. I don't know if people require this. There's a basis for this. And this basis is what our colleague from the DRC has just referred to. This is the reality of it. We cannot leave in the paragraph something that doesn't reflect the real situation, because today, if you ask states to come up with a list of projects but that have never been implemented, well, you will simply see them. So we cannot say that it's because states don't submit projects. It just doesn't reflect the reality of the situation. Secondly, sir, it seems to me that this text is important. I don't want to be part of the deletion movement, because this is what justifies our requests for a special trust fund to be set up for the implementation of the convention. The Jeff cannot understand the difficulties faced by states. They define their priorities, that's normal. But at a time when we're trying to define things even at national levels, this is problematic. And the Jeff is not the organization that can tackle this, because it's not the best framework for financing the convention. So that is why, sir, I believe that this paragraph is exceedingly important. It justifies and backs up the creation of the special trust fund. Thank you.
Distinguished delegates, since there is no consensus, we are bracketing this one and also new proposal made, and moving forward. There are parties on queue, but I am not giving the floor because since it is going to be, it is being bracketed, please. Next in line, the para starts with words, also noting with concern the lack of resources. Floor is open. DRC, you have the floor.
Merci, monsieur.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for giving me the floor. I would like to remind you here that we're considering documents. Documents which, as far as is possible, will be forwarded to the COP for consideration and hopefully for adoption. The parties are all sovereign. We're not in a court here, sir. A court where we start calling for witnesses. All of us receive the reports from the JEF, we analyze them, and it's on the basis of our analysis of these reports that we are considering the text. So I here would discourage this type of practice where we call upon witnesses to provide explanations provided by other stakeholders. So I would like to know whether the paragraph which we proposed is between square brackets as well.
Secretary, please speak.
So for this preamble paragraph, we got no brackets, noting with concern. And then we have the original text, all in brackets. And then we have new bracket text that the JEF does not take into account in balanced way project proposals on biosafety and ABS during its consideration and approval by the fund, also in brackets.
Thank you, Secretary. We are now on the preamble text. The next one, as I mentioned, I am repeating again, also noting with concern with the lack of resources. We are on this formulation, please. Floor is open, please. Canada, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Could the Secretariat just repeat the new text that is at the end of this, also noting with concern the lack of resources paragraph? Because I don't see that, anything on biosafety in front of me in the draft that was posted online.
Secretary, you have the floor.
Thank you. The new bracket text was proposed by distinguished delegates from DR Congo. It's not in the original proposal. It reads that the Global Environment Facility does not take into account in balanced way project proposals on the Cartagena Protocol on biosafety and the Nagoya Protocol on access to genetic resources and the fair and equitable sharing of benefits arising from their utilization during its consideration and approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretariat. Now we are on also the para, also noting with concern the lack of resources. Floor is open, please. Switzerland, you have the floor.
With your indulgence, Chair, just going back to the previous one, I'm a bit confused. That new proposal that you've read in, that wasn't proposed previously or raised previously, so it'd be completely new language that doesn't help us resolve anything here, right? Rather than just bracket the one on which we don't agree. Just so if you could clarify how you go about this. Thank you.
Secretariat to please clarify.
It's basically we have two bracket text, two square brackets, the original paragraph in brackets. And then we have a new proposal from DR Congo in brackets. And this new proposal, yes, it's new. It was not in the first round of reading at this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretariat. Norway, you have the floor, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Similarly to Switzerland, we're also confused on the rules of procedure because we understood that any new text was supposed to be introduced when we first discussed this item in plenary. And we think it's also very difficult if new text is introduced now and we can't even see it on the screen. Thank you very much.
The new text is, as per my understanding, is the alternative interpretation, which is proposed by DRC. So therefore, that has been taken and put it in brackets. That is my submission to the party. Gaban, you have the floor, please.
Merci.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. We are a little confused by the procedure adopted. We thought at the beginning that this paragraph was within brackets, and you asked states not to take the floor, even though we were in the queue. Now we see that the paragraph is under discussion still, and we have a proposal to make. But we respected the procedure because you said that we needed to go on to the next paragraph. However, once again, we've gone back to this paragraph. We don't understand whether we are able to give our proposal now or not. We would like to do so.
Thank you, Gaban. Give me a minute, please. Gaban, you have the floor, please.
Merci.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. As you are allowing me to do so with regard to this paragraph, we would like to propose another paragraph recognizing the efforts made by the Global Environment Facility, encourages or urges those country parties that are admissible for projects for the implementation of the Cartagena Protocol. And would you allow me to repeat that? So, recognizing the efforts made by the GEF after the adoption of the GBF, encourages or urges relevant parties to approve projects under the Cartagena Protocol, and then the rest of the paragraph would continue, and including as well the Nagoya Protocol. Thank you.
Thank you, Gaban. Gaban, I would like to inform you that it is covered under para 3 and 5 below. So, therefore, this submission made by you is not being taken into consideration, please. We will discuss if you have any doubts when we reach below para 3 and 5 in the same page. Thank you for your understanding and cooperation. Egypt, you have the floor, please.
Mr. Chair, we are feeling a little bit lost. But talking about the issue of the GIF, we feel we fully align ourselves with the position expressed by the Democratic Republic of Congo and other countries. And we believe that to address the challenge party face in accessing the fund from the Global Environment Facility, it's essential to openly acknowledge those issues and commit to transparency. Asking to delete paragraph and denying facts will not help anyone. We are asking for flexibility from our counterpart parties. If you are not experiencing challenges in accessing GEF fund, you shouldn't engage in bracketing the text proposed by countries that are suffering from those issues. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Egypt, when there is no consensus on the para or any formulation, it is, and it is going to be COP16, so I have no other alternative except to bracket it, please. So here we are not negotiating in one way, if you see, in a practical sense. So let us please cooperate and with us, and let us move forward. So once it is bracketed, anyhow it will be negotiated and discussed in COP16. So kindly, all of you, the parties are, my appeal that kindly try to cooperate. That is the only thing I can make my submission to all of you. Thank you very much. DRC, you have the floor, please.
Merci, Monsieur.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for giving me the floor. It's in a constructive spirit that we are seeking to provide you with opinions that could give you a document which will not pose any difficulties at the COP. Plato said that nobody is more detested than he who speaks the truth, and we are trying hard to say the truth here. It is true that I could regret the fact that this paragraph was not submitted during the first reading. It was submitted, and you heard many member states supporting it, but it wasn't properly captured.
Thank you, DRC. We have bracketed it, and we wish to move forward. Please try to cooperate with us. Let us move on to also the formulations, the words. The para starts with the following words, also noting with concern the lack of resources. Floor is open, please. Japan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Without seeing the text on the screen, it is really impossible to react for us. You just read out the text, which is really long, and we cannot just react. And do you expect us to approve the text without seeing it on the screen? I know that it may be the practice in this meeting, but it is not very productive. I also would like to know, what is your plan? This document is more than 10 pages long. How long are you going to keep on doing this? And when are you going to finish this? I just want to know your plan ahead. Thank you.
You have raised a very interesting question, Japan. It doesn't depend on me. It depends on the parties. See, I am only, facilitator and try to bring consensus and try to move forward for the negotiations in COP16. That's why we have taken this decision, draft decision. It is not the draft recommendation, please. That's why I switched on from the CRP.1 to CRP.2, because I have, to the best of my ability in this thing, I want to push the things forward without compromising on the quality of the debates here. Contributions here. So kindly try to, cooperate with me, and it is the whole body is responsible, not a single person, please. So kindly try to help us to move forward. So yeah, I can't help on the screen, that is not the practice here, and therefore I'm in that way can't help you in that regard. Thank you very much. Brazil, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I'm taking the floor from the vantage point of a delegation that's concerned with the effectiveness of our procedures. We are concerned that we already spent the whole plenary session and this morning, just dealing with a small part of one conference room paper, and now we're trying to make progress on this other important one. And I also agree with your ruling, Mr. Chair, that the text that has been put forward by some African countries is an alternative to the current text that was on screen, not necessarily a new idea, but rather a new iteration of the same idea. So I would beg the indulgence of the other delegates in the room so we can bracket both paragraphs, the original and the alternative, and move forward. Because otherwise we're not going to be able to reach this document to a completion today as we should. Thank you.
Thank you, Brazil, for your comment. We are going to bracket both and move forward, please. Kindly cooperate, please. European Union, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We are certainly willing to move forward. I just wanted to clarify that our request to bracket both the, parts of this text in no way mean that we disregard the concerns of several countries. We are, what we are hearing now is very concerning to us, and we want to have a better look at it before discussion at COP. I just wanted to reassure parties that we do take their concerns seriously. Thank you.
Thank you, European Union. Friends, we are on the, I'm repeating it, but we are again going back, but let us move forward. We are on the para starting with the words, also noting with concern the lack of resources made available. Floor is open, please. Nigeria, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Co-Chair. I'm not trying to take you back, but I just wanted you to know that a few of us, like myself and Switzerland, we requested for the floor for over 15 minutes, and maybe it's a technical error, and we'd like them to look into that. So just to say that while we're okay with putting the para in brackets, just to move on, this proposal by DRC was reflected in the African Group statement at the plenary on agenda item 4, and would like you to reference this while you are making a new para on this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Nigeria. Friends, please focus on this para. We are moving forward, and I repeat again for your convenience, this para starts with also noting with concern the lack of resources. Please speak on this only. I mean, we have earlier one bracketed, please. I hope the parties on the screen are going to speak on the para which starts with words also noting with concern the lack of resources. Australia, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Co-Chair. Australia would like to see this paragraph bracketed. In our view, it's still too early in the GBFF's establishment, and we note that contributions are still being received on an ongoing basis. And on top of that, we can't forget the substantial resources of the GEF that contribute to biodiversity. So of the 5.3 billion GEF 8 replenishment, 83% of that contributes to biodiversity, which is over 4 billion. So we'd like to see this, this paragraph bracketed. Thank you.
United Kingdom, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'm taking us forward full of optimism and energy that we're going to fly through the remainder of this decision. I'm very excited. So I think there's just a linguistic point here, I think, which is I'm not sure that a lack of resources can be commensurate with a challenge. I think when we use the word commensurate, they normally imply things that are basically the same size. So I was thinking a tweak here that would say, also noting with concern that resources made available to the GBFF are not yet commensurate with the challenges and needs of developing country parties, in particular, the least developed countries and small island developing states. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, United Kingdom. Canada, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Chair. We would also support bracketing this paragraph. Our preference would be to remove the concern with the lack of resources, simply because you could actually make the opposite argument. As the fund was recently established, there are already resources flowing into the fund, so you could note that with appreciation. So for this reason, we would bracket this paragraph. And I would also support Japan's previous comment that it is difficult to approve text that we cannot see and that we don't have in front of us. So if the Secretariat could explain why it's not possible to show the text on the screen while we're having this discussion, that would be appreciated. I do think that that would help us move forward in a more efficient way. Thanks.
Thank you, Canada. Secretariat, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you for the question regarding the possibility of projecting the text in the room. It has not been the practice under the convention to project text during the adoption of conference room papers. For those of you who were here last week, 2 weeks ago now, I'm not sure. During the meeting of Substa 26, you would recall that there were similar requests at that time to also project the text, and the chair was firm in indicating that this would not be done. You have before you electronic versions of the documents, so it should be possible to track the changes as they are proposed, and the Secretariat is here to facilitate that by reading proposals if that is of assistance. I would also flag that from our extensive experience with projecting text during meetings, this has the effect of slowing down the process and actually resulting in spending significantly more time negotiating text when it is projected than when delegations track the changes themselves based on what they have before them. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretariat. European Union, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to echo those that would like to keep this text bracketed for now, since we are in the initial stages after the establishment of the GBFF. I'll keep it short. Support for that proposal to keep this text bracketed.
Switzerland, you have the floor.
Okay. I've asked for the floor for about, very long time. So I take advantage to thank Nigeria for the explanation of what was my concern, and just to echo both Canada in terms of the concern of not having the text in front of us, as well as in terms of bracketing this text, this paragraph for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Switzerland. Brazil, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Our first comment regarding this paragraph is its placement. we believe it should be moved to be the first paragraph in the line of those noting with concern, because we do think that this is a more overarching concern. So we would suggest, even if we're bracketing this paragraph, to move it to be before the paragraph on the implementation of Cartagena and Nagoya protocols. Our second comment on this paragraph, and here I relate to many of those who indicated that the GBFF is a new entity and therefore has not yet received all the funding that it could potentially get. But at the same time, the issue about the scale of resources does not only apply to the GBFF, applies to the GEF itself too. And this is a point that my delegation did make in its initial remarks as well, I think many other delegations and regional groups. So we would suggest, where it reads, make available to, we would put make available to the Global Environment Facility, comma, including its Global Biodiversity Framework Fund. And regarding to linguistic comments made by other delegations, perhaps a way to go about them would be in this sentence to say, concerned with the insufficiency of resources made available to the GEF, including its GBFF, in a manner commensurate with the challenges and needs of developing country parties. We do believe that even with the amount of resources that GEF 8 has, it is still shy away from the needs that we have collectively quantified in Target 19 of the GBF. Thank you.
Thank you, Brazil. DRC, you have the floor, please.
Merci, Monsieur le Président, pour la parole.
Thank you very much for giving me the floor. I'd like to echo those who've stated that it would be good to put this paragraph in brackets, Australia, for example, because the fund for the implementation of the framework, which was established by the GEF, after 10 months, has only received $130 million, whereas the loss and damages fund had received $7 million by the same period of time. And therefore, it is important to put this paragraph in brackets. And also, we support the proposal made by Brazil to bring this paragraph up higher, because where it's placed at the moment, it's likely it could be overlooked. Thank you.
Thank you, DRC. The parties in line are Gabon, Switzerland, Cuba, and since this paragraph is anyhow in brackets already, so because of lack of time, I will not take any more parties on this para. Gabon, you have the floor, please.
Merci, Monsieur le.
Thank you, sir. Now, while recognizing the relevance of keeping this paragraph between square brackets, we believe that what is said here is true, it's accurate, even if one says that it's early, knowing, as we do, that this fund was to, before 2025, receive $20 billion US. Now, unfortunately, thus far, this fund has only received $236 million US. In other words, this means that the addition which is referred to here is correct, because we do not know at which point we will shift into the right gear, because by 2030 we are to have $30 billion US. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabon. Switzerland, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Just a few comments on what we've just heard. Maybe reminding ourselves that the normal GEF, let's say, has fixed replenishment period. So it would be a bit surprising to mention the insufficient funding to the GEF, given that there hasn't been any recent conclusion of replenishment period. since the last COP anyway. And also in terms of the latest comment, it may be also for us important to recall that the 20 billion, while part of that will come through the JEF, which is the financial mechanism, it also is composed of funding from other sources, international, public, to developing countries. So just to clarify that, and in that sense, I think, yeah, we could just move ahead by bracketing this paragraph.
Thank you, Switzerland. Cuba, you have the floor.
Gracias, señor presidente.
Thank you, sir. This paragraph is an especially important one for us. We back the proposal made by Brazil. Furthermore, we would like to add the following wording. After Global Fund for the Environment, or Global Biodiversity Framework Fund, we would like to mention Article 20 of the Convention and Target 19 of the framework, as well as the difficulties faced by states, developing states, who are parties. Cuba wishes to here recall that during the second series of proposal consideration, 76 were submitted and only 16 were actually approved. So 6 developing states, I apologize, 6 developed states are amongst the about the providers of the funds, and this is a problem. This is what we're talking about. In 2023, very few resources were actually mobilized. We're therefore extremely concerned regarding the implementation, the effective implementation of the framework. We certainly cannot continue at this pace and rhythm, because otherwise there will be no effective implementation. The objective was to set up a fund. A fund which would be functional, operational, and there is now a need to move to the stage of actions, urgently so. And for this reason, we would like to insist that this be added. Thank you.
Thank you, Cuba. We are moving on to next formulation. This para will be in the brackets, please, since there is no consensus. The next one, starting with the words, further noting with concern the exclusion of a number of eligible parties. Floor is open for the parties, please. Australia, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Co-Chair. Noting that this covers similar content to what we discussed at length under item 2 earlier this morning, Australia's suggestion would be to place this in brackets and simply move on. Thank you.
European Union, you have the floor, please.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Over lunch, after this discussion we had this morning, we did some consulting internally and reflected on this issue, but we haven't reached a conclusion yet, so we would also like to bracket this text for now. Thank you.
Thank you. We are moving on further. This will be put in brackets, please. Thank you. The next formulation starts with the words, noting the contributions of the integrated programs. The floor is open for the interventions. I see no request for the floor. This formulation, noting the contributions of the integrated programs of the Global Environment Facility towards targets of the framework, and that all the integrated programs contribute towards targets 8, 10, 11, 20, 21, 23 is approved, please. We are moving on to the next one, which starts with the words, welcoming the significant portion of the global environment facility. Floor is open, please. I see no request for the floor. This formulation is approved, please. Sorry, Nigeria, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Co-Chair. I'm concerned about the reference to just focal areas, international waters focal areas, because our understanding is that there are other focal areas of GEF that also contribute to the implementation of the framework. So maybe this can be rephrased or...
Thank you, Nigeria.
Yeah, thank you. Maybe other focal areas of GEF that contribute to the implementation of the framework. Thank you.
We are moving forward. Switzerland, you have the floor, please.
Thank you. We support the suggestion or the point by Nigeria. If other focal areas were to add, we would suggest that we use the listing that is in paragraph 7 further down of the document here as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Switzerland. Japan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also support the comment made by Nigeria. There are other focal areas like climate change mitigation, adaptation, chemicals, pollution. So we could just, we could say global environmental facilities, other focal area resources. That is my suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Japan. All the three parties have almost on the same page. Thank you very much. So we are moving forward with that addition, please. This formulation para is approved, please. Next one, starting with the words, also welcoming the efforts by the Global Environment Facility. Floor is open, please. Brazil, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I think for this paragraph, it would be helpful if our colleagues from the GEF could perhaps clarify to us what they concretely mean by harnessing synergies and addressing challenges in a holistic manner. I think this would provide a little bit more objectivity for our consideration of this PP. Thank you.
Jeff, you have the floor, please. Please respond to Brazil's point, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I didn't write this language, but I can try to serve as a witness for the CBD Secretariat in this instance. That was meant to, as a joke to kind of lighten the room here a little bit. So please take it in that manner. I think what they're trying to get at is the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework, and I asked my colleagues and friends at the CBD to correct me if I'm wrong, has provided kind of an overarching biodiversity plan for Earth, which inevitably exhibits a great deal of overlap with the other multilateral environmental or the biodiversity-related conventions and agreements. By virtue of the kind of approaches that we support in the biodiversity focal area and through the 11 integrated programs that are part of GEF 8, it's inevitable and measurable that these investments, whether through projects or programs, are synergistic in terms of their implementation, both of the CBD and the other biodiversity-related conventions. And we're doing this both within the biodiversity focal area strategy, which promotes an integrated approach to biodiversity conservation and sustainable use, and through many of the integrated programs where biodiversity serves to benefit considerably. Now, that was a very long way of explaining it, but issues like harnessing synergies and holistic manner needs to be unpacked. But to the best of my technical ability, I believe that's what the CBD Secretariat was trying to get at with this very dense sentence. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. No request for the vote. Then this para formulation is hereby approved, please. Next one, starting with the words, noting with appreciation the enhanced support provided by Jeff, Global Environment Facility. Floor is open for interventions, please. DRC, you have the floor, please.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you so much, sir, for the floor. I have three minor comments on this paragraph. The first is, as we did previously, we can put with appreciation between square brackets, and after the support, I would suggest we add the word the relative support, in fact before support, the relative support provided, and then in the third line in the French, I would like to have the word ambitious between square brackets, in fact aspirational between square brackets.
Thank you, DRC. Brazil, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. When we took the floor in our national capacity under item 4A, our Vice Minister for the Indigenous Peoples came here to tell us why it is that we think that Jeff is making good progress when it comes to overachieving the aspirational program share of 20% in terms of access for IPLCs. We thought this was one of the good news that we had relating to the GBFF in a world that we have a lot of not so great news regarding that same entity. So my delegation would prefer to retain the appreciation on this paragraph. Thank you.
DRC, you have any comment to intervention on this proposal made by Brazil?
Je n'ai pas dit qu'on s'y...
No, I didn't say that we should delete it. I said that let's place it between square brackets until we have additional clarifications regarding whether the fund is going to allocate 20% of its resources to indigenous peoples and local communities, youth and women. And whether this will actually benefit these people. You heard the women's caucuses and representatives of indigenous peoples and of youth, and they voiced their concerns regarding just this. Thank you.
European Union, you have the floor, please.
Thank you very much. We would like to support Brazil in their call to keep the with appreciation. And also, with regards to the aspirational, I believe this is the way this target is described in the policy documents related to the GBFF. So we would also propose to keep the original text there. Thank you.
Colombia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Colombia wants to support Brazil and EU, keeping in this paragraph appreciation at the beginning, and also aspirational is the wording used in the creation of the GBFF, so it needs to be here in this paragraph. Thank you.
DRC, if you could agree with this thing, this paragraph will be approved, please, in a spirit of camaraderie and solidarity, cooperation.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you so much, sir. You know that we are, as always, flexible.
Bon, nous pouvons accepter, Monsieur le Président.
We can accept this, sir.
Thank you very much, DRC. This one more party is there, and Mexico, please, you have the floor. Mexico, you have the floor, please.
Gracias. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. My comments was about the fact that we would like to have the original language, and so we appreciate the comments made by the DRC. Thank you.
Thank you, Mexico. Thank you for all your cooperation. We are moving. This para is approved as it is, and we are moving forward. Thank you. Thank you very much to all the parties who have cooperated. The next formulation, welcoming the efforts of the GEF to support policy coherence and streamlining measures. Floor is open, please. Thank you. No request for the floor. Then approved, please. Then first one, operative part, please. Starts with the words, notes the report of the council. Floor is open. Australia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Australia, perhaps we should have noted this earlier when we were discussing the preamble, but we note that this paragraph actually duplicates a paragraph in the preamble, and only one reference is needed. So we would suggest that that reference remain in the operative paragraph, given that this is about the GEF's formal reporting to the COP, so the COP should formally note its report. So that is our first proposal. And with regard to the actual text itself, we would prefer to keep noting with appreciation, recognising that there did appear to be broad support that we heard in the opening plenary. Thank you.
Thank you, Australia. we are moving with the addition of 2 words with appreciation. Thank you. Next formulation, second one, operative part. Invites the global environment facility in collaboration. Floor is open, please. Russian Federation, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Chair. Just one change on the second line. When on the second line in English version we read secretary, comma, to encourage, and we like to replace recipient with all eligible. So it will read to encourage all eligible countries to submit and so on. Thank you.
DRC, you have the floor, please.
Merci, Monsieur.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for giving me the floor. Just one further comment at this level. When the wise men look at the sun, others don't always understand what they mean. We have a paragraph here that invites the Global Environmental Facility to do something. And during COP15, we invited the Global Environmental Facility, or Fund, to set up structure and management facilities from the global framework. And the GEF hasn't done it thus far, because it is not under the authority of the COP. The GEF simply doesn't accept to be under the authority of the COP. And I wonder if we're going to continue to invite it, because we are inviting something to be done, something to be implemented. This is why I would like us here to replace invite by encourages. Thank you.
Switzerland, you have the floor.
Thank you. We can go along with the DRC proposal of changing invite to encourage. However, we would like to point out that under with the GBFF, a simplified approval process, and as a result, a much shorter project cycle has been approved and is already operational. So just to counter maybe some, not quite accurate statements. Thank you.
Thank you, Switzerland. Canada, you have the floor.
Thank you. We do not agree with the statement that the GEF is not under the authority of the COP. The GEF takes direction from the COP and will take direction from the COP during this meeting. So Canada's preference would be to keep the word invite at the start of this paragraph. Thanks.
South Africa, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Chair. Would like to agree with DRC that we encourage the GEF in collaboration with the Executive Secretary, and further propose that in that line where it says to replace the word encourage with invite, because we can have encourage twice in that particular paragraph, and also agree with Russia's proposal of all eligible countries. And we do agree that GEF is not accountable to the COP. Thank you.
Russian Federation, you have the floor, please.
Yeah, I'm kind of reflecting because Canada raised the last point. So in our opinion, GF currently is not under authority of COP. The body which is under authority of another body, in this case GEF to be under authority of COP, is not invited, is not guided. It's requested and directed. All those years, every single decision related to interim financial mechanism is operating with a language, guidance, inviting, etc. So the body like COP is not talking to the body which is under its full authority in this language. So the whole history of interactions clearly shows that GAF today is not under authority as per articles of the convention. And that's the main concern of a big number of recipient countries and eligible countries. And we need to recognize it, and our request constantly is to change it and to make it fully in line with the articles of the convention and fully under authority of COP when we request JEF and when we direct JEF. Thank you.
Thank you, Russian Federation. European Union, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We don't agree with those statements, suggestion that the JEF wouldn't be under the authority of the COP. And we think that with this guidance document from the COP to the JEF is very important, and we should be able as Conference of Parties to provide strategic guidance that is then actionable and that the JEF then can further operationalize. So if parties would feel more comfortable if we change this invite into a request, we are happy to do so. Thank you.
Four parties are in queue, please. Colombia, Cote d'Ivoire, Brazil, Chile. Colombia, you have the floor.
Gracias.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Colombia would like to emphasize that the JEF, as a financial mechanism, is under the authority of the Conference of the Parties to the Biodiversity Convention. And we should recall the fact that in each of our conferences of the parties, we adopt decisions in line with the financial mechanism, in this case COP. In COP 15, decision 1515, that contains 32 pages of alignments specifically for the operationalization of JEF, including the annex on the guidelines for the results of the period of time of JEF 8, 2022 to 2026, and additionally, the consolidation of all of the provisions that are to be found in the different decisions under COP 15 relating or which give some mandate to JEF. And all of that to mention the fact that with these alignments, the JEF, through the Council, generates the specific rules for the implementation of the guidelines it's given by the COP, by the Convention. So we're here in a historic process, and we are now setting out the need to make some adjustments to governance and the effectiveness of the financial mechanism. And this is a process that we need to develop over the next few years. However, we cannot deny the fact that every COP does give alignments with JEF, and it's the responsibility of the parties to give the alignments to JEF. Finally, I'd like to refer to the term recipient in paragraph 2. this discussion, we already had it on other occasions, and we decided as parties that we would use the word recipient countries. And so therefore, Colombia would like to maintain the word recipient countries in operative paragraph 2. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Colombia.
Merci.
Thank you very much for giving me the floor. I would like to take the floor simply to support what the DRC said and also what South Africa proposed, and therefore to put at the beginning of the paragraph encourage, and then encourages, and then later in the paragraph invites.
Thank you, Cote d'Ivoire. Brazil, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Chair. It has been an interesting exchange. COP Decision 3/8 incorporated the Memorandum of Understanding between our convention and the GEF. And its Article 2 states clearly that what the COP does in relation to the GEF is communicate its guidance. While not a native speaker, I do sense that the word guidance and the word authority carry different meanings. When somebody is under somebody's authority, that person can commend, can instruct. And we know for a fact, for a legal fact, that the GEF is a different international organization with a different legal personality that responds to a different governing body than this one. So we are not of the view that the GEF is legally under the authority of the COP, and this is why we believe that we should, on a different agenda item, move towards something in that direction. But let's assume for a moment that those delegations speaking before me who suppose that the GEF is under the authority of the COP. These delegations in previous negotiations have always refrained in this specific agenda item to include anything that could be prejudging conversations in the GEF Council. So perhaps what we could do is to change the first word of this paragraph to instructs. My delegation would like to suggest in OP1 that we change the first verb to, and that OP that we're discussing, we just change the first word to instructs. And let's see how that flies. Thank you.
Thank you, Brazil. Chile, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think I would like to thank you, all the parties that has provided different arguments to demonstrate their views regarding if GEF, whether or not is under the convention of the COP of CBD. But I think in this matter, I think it's not the discussion on this paragraph. So in order to streamline the discussion, I'm willing to accept the suggestion of DRC regarding the first line to change encourage, change invite for encourage, and in the second line to change encourage for invite. I think that could address in a good way the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Chile. European Union, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd just like to request the Secretariat to read a little bit what is now put forward on the table so that we can follow better the discussion. Thank you.
There are two more parties. I will take their interventions and then we'll get back to you, European Union. Please hold on. Thank you. Togo, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Togo would like to add its voice to that of the Russian Federation and I believe also the colleague, the delegate from Brazil. Mr. Chairman, we need to remember the Charter. I know that during the discussions in Montreal, it was made clear that we cannot, and that the conference does not have the right to demand or to give instructions to the GEF. So whatever request it was would have to be submitted to the Council. And now we cannot be told that the GEF is under the authority of the COP when we do not have the relationship that then there is something that we are not interpreting properly. And it seems as if Article 9 is clear. It's a provisional mechanism and only exceptionally might we integrate the biodiversity into it. It's therefore clear that we cannot ask for accountability from that body. So, Mr. Chairman, I would like things to be very clear. We should not start by making our own interpretations on all of the provisions that everybody knows very well. Member states had supported this opposition back in Montreal when we discussed it. Thank you.
Thank you. United Kingdom, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think it's probably time to move on, but I did just want to, for the sake of the record, read out a slightly longer extract from the MOU between the Convention and the GEF, which says that the Conference of the Parties will determine the policy, strategy, program priorities, and eligibility criteria for access to and utilization of financial resources available through the financial mechanism, including monitoring and evaluation. GEF will finance activities that are in full conformity with the guidance provided to it by the COP. Thank you.
Thank you, UK. United Kingdom. Switzerland, you have the floor.
Thank you. No real need anymore after UK's intervention, just also suggesting that we move on since there seem to be different interpretation. We definitely clearly subscribe to the one just read out by UK. Thank you.
Thank you, Switzerland. Gabon, you have the floor. And this is, you have the floor, Gabon.
Merci.
Thank you so much, sir. In a spirit of compromise and wishing to move on, we would like to support the proposal made, or the declaration rather, made by Togo. It's very important, and I believe that the major problem that we find in this text is because we are mixing the fund dedicated to the implementation of the global framework and the GEF itself. And each time I think this is where the difficulty can be found. Is it the fact that the fund that was created for the global framework is under GEF, meaning that the convention or the parties to the convention can control the activities of GEF? Or is it, in fact, that the parties themselves have the power to do so? And Togo very clearly recalled the discussions that we had during COP15. Thank you.
Thank you. Canada, you have the floor.
Thank you. Just a note, we appreciate the intervention by the UK, which hopefully clarifies much in this discussion. Just following on the EU, I'd also appreciate the chair or the secretariat to read out what the current text is for this paragraph before we move on, because we've heard a number of proposals, and if that process could actually be followed for every paragraph we have so that we understand what we've all agreed to, that would be appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Canada. I give the floor. You have the floor, Secretariat. Please speak.
Thank you, Chair. For the paragraph 2, to beginning, we have three alternative wording. Bracket 1 is invites, and second alternative is encourages, and the third is instructs. And then on second line, original wording encourage, and then we have option for invites. This wording, I would not invite you to comment more because our editors will do a wonderful job. And then after that, recipients in bracket, and then with another bracket as alternative or eligible. That's what in our screen. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move on to next para 3. This is in brackets. Para 3 starts with words invites relevant parties to the Cartagena Protocol. Floor is open, please. No request for the floor. We will move on to 3. Para is approved. Para 4 starts with the words request this Executive Secretary and the Global Environment Facility. Floor is open, please. No request from the floor. The para 4 is approved, please. We are moving on to para 5, which starts with the words invites relevant parties to the Nagoya Protocol. Floor is open, please. No request from the floor. Para 5 is approved, please. Para 6 starts with the words encourages the Global Environment Facility. Floor is open, please. Thank you. No request from the floor. Para 6 is approved, please. Para 7 starts with the words encourages the Global Environment Facility. Floor is open, please. Japan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think this is the same thing. There are other focal areas than international waters, so we could just say relevant focal area. Thank you.
Thank you, Japan, for this suggestion. We are moving on, please. This para 7 is approved with the suggestion made by the Japan. Para 8 starts with the words invites all parties and other governments. Floor is open, please. Georgia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. At the end, I would also here as well like to ask you to add and as well as countries with economies in transition. Thank you.
Thank you, Georgia. Colombia, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We want to include developing countries. We want to include developing countries here in order to they can participate in the night replenishment of the Global Environment Facility Trust Fund.
Columbia, please repeat slowly. Columbia, you have the floor.
Mr. Chair, can you give me 2 seconds, please? Thank you.
Okay. Columbia, can we move forward, please? Columbia, you have the floor.
Gracias, Mr. Chair.
Thank you so much.
And let's give it away. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, with this addition, I request the Secretary to just spell out what has been added.
So paragraph 8, at the end of the original paragraph text, so we add as well as countries with economies in transition. Thank you.
Trinidad and Tobago, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just wondering why it doesn't contain any regular language for small island developing states and least developed countries, as is standard for those types of paragraphs. Sorry, and apologies. Just to revisit paragraph 7. I didn't understand Japan's intervention because it seemed to already include language for other focal areas under the draft. Thank you.
Trinidad, you want us to repeat what has been added in para 7? You mean to say?
Sorry. So what I was saying in paragraph 7, Japan was indicating that there should be an inclusion for other focal areas under the JEF.
Yes.
And I am already seeing language to that effect. So I'm not quite understanding how Japan's intervention is going to modify paragraph 7. And for paragraph 8, I was thinking that the standard language for small island developing states and least developed countries should also be included at the end. Thank you.
Under paragraph 8, your suggestion is accepted, please. We are adding it to it. Regarding your intervention on 7, para 7, I request Secretary to speak, please. Explain, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. Actually, there would be a long story behind this. Jeff Secretary colleague would be in a better position to explain, but I try. So in the Jeff report, over 3/4 of the international water allocation has been marked to benefit biodiversity objectives. So it's very significant. And then here, the suggestion is to extend this good practice to all other focal areas in order to have even bigger number in the next report to the COP, see how much we are allocated to biodiversity. And recognizing the fact that other focal areas like climate change, land degradation, and chemicals and waste already contribute to biodiversity objectives, but not at magnitude as international waters. That will actually observation from a secretariat when we prepare a document. And so when we discuss the preambular paragraph and the distinguished delegate from Japan recognize these facts and then refer to paragraph 7. So we use this language to modify the preambular paragraph, and that was done. And so paragraph 7 already reflects what Japanese delegation referred to. So it would be remain the same with no change. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary. China, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Regarding paragraph 8, we hope after invites all parties, we can add, in particular, developed contracting parties, because we believe developed countries, other governments have different responsibilities to make contributions. Therefore, we hope we can make a distinction here. Thank you.
Finally, what has been the finalized the version of the para 8 will be, I will request the Secretariat to speak out, please, spell out.
So paragraph 8 would read, invites all parties, in particular developed country parties, and then the rest remaining. And at the end of the paragraph, the following would be added, as well as countries with economies in transition, and these developed countries and small island developing states. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretariat. With this, we are approving the para 8, please. Approved. Switzerland, you have the floor, please.
Thank you very much. I would like to bracket the addition suggested by China. Parties, all type of parties, have already made contribution to the GEF in the past. And similar to what I said yesterday, an invitation can be accepted or not.
Thank you, Switzerland. Yeah, we are bracketing it and move forward. The 8th, paragraph 8. Next, para 9 starts with the words, expresses its appreciation to the Global Environment Facility. Floor is open, please. No request from the floor. Para 9 is Togo, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Perhaps I did not properly understand, and the Secretariat will be able to clarify that for me. We state that we thank the GEF for the establishment and the operationalization. I'm not quite sure if that is the case. Is the Global Biodiversity Framework Fund operational? If it's not the case, maybe progress has been made, because under paragraph 2, we had said that we regretted that we didn't have the necessary organs to operationalize it. It's one thing to establish the fund, and it's another thing to render it operational. And if in paragraph 9 that we say that everything is done, then why would we regret it? Therefore, I suggest that it should be written in this way, expresses its thanks to the Global Environment Facility for the progress made in the process of the establishment and operationalization. That would be logical. We could then say, however, that we regret that the operationalization has not yet taken place because the Council has not yet adopted the terms of reference for the auxiliary body for it to be able to continue its work. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Togo. DRC, you have the floor, please. On para 9, please.
Oui, Monsieur.
Thank you very much, sir. However long night is, we do eventually reach the dawn. And this paragraph is showing us what we were trying to say earlier on. And for that reason, we are in favor of the proposal made by Togo just now for the rationale that he has so clearly expressed. Thank you.
Thank you, DRC. Canada, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. We are in favor of the paragraph staying as it is. We understand that the fund was established and made operational by the Jeff Assembly decision last August. So there is no question actually as to whether or not the GBF fund is established or operational. It is a fact that it is, and I'm happy to ask the Jeff to confirm this, but I don't think we need to because it's a known fact. Thank you.
Norway, you have the floor, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. In addition to the facts that Canada just mentioned, we would also like to make the parties aware that 22 projects in the GBFF have already been approved. So in our view, that means that the GBFF is operational. And we would also like to note that this is text for COP16, and that most likely we will have approved the terms of reference that are mentioned in the next paragraph. So we would suggest at the same time to delete paragraph 10 and to maintain paragraph 9 as it is. Thank you very much.
Switzerland, you have the floor.
No, we can go along with the Norwegian proposal.
European Union, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chair, we share the views of Norway and others and want to underline, because now in the intervention made by the distinguished delegate of Togo, there were the two ideas of 9 and 10 combined in one statement, and so we support what Norway said about that, and we just wanted to underline that everybody can see that these terms of reference are on the agenda for the Council in June. So we would also request that we consider the matter then and delete this paragraph for now. Thank you.
United Kingdom, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I align myself with the speakers that have just spoken, and just to add that the GBFF has provided $110 million of funding that benefits 24 countries. So I think it's reasonable to keep paragraph 9 as it stands and to delete paragraph 10. I mean, I think the footnote itself explains that paragraph 10 won't be relevant by the time we get to COP. Thank you.
Colombia, you have the floor.
Gracias. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. In fact, Colombia is in agreement with paragraph 9, in line with what's been mentioned just recently the Global Biodiversity Framework Fund has approved 24 projects, and this is right at the very beginning of its operations. However, paragraph 10 reflects what took place in the first council of the Global Biodiversity Framework Fund, and therefore we propose instead to include before the council to put the words the first council of the Global Biodiversity Framework Fund. Thank you. Making a reference to the fact that in the first council of the Global Biodiversity Framework Fund, the terms of reference were not approved for the auxiliary body and for the advisory group. This is a fact, and this is what happened. Thank you.
DRC, you have the floor, please.
Merci.
Thank you so much.
Qu'il y a une confusion.
It seems that there's a confusion between paragraphs 9 and 10. These are two paragraphs which are not, in fact, entirely linked. The decision that COP15 took was very clear. We're speaking about the funds for the implementation of the Global Biodiversity Framework Fund, the GBFF. And for that, COP asked for there to be an auxiliary body with a clear mandate for supple, agile procedures, and that there be an advisory group as well to increase the issue of transparency and to increase the accessibility of those funds. That's what was meant under operationalization. And while that has not yet been done, then we cannot speak about operationalization. We cannot therefore begin to dress things up as if we were acting. It's a question of generations. I'm asking the parties to be more responsible. When we speak about matters, they should be based on a logic rationale. And that's what was accepted by the Conference of the Parties, and there should not be any ambiguity here. We cannot hide the smoke with a cover. So we just insist on the fact that the fund is not yet operational. And to state that some projects have been approved, we all know the procedure. We're now going to have to draft the projects even longer until they are finally approved, and that can take several years to receive disbursement. And that's what we're speaking about, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, DRC. Since there is no consensus, we will put brackets to both the 9 and 10 and we'll move forward. But however, before moving forward, I would like to give the floor to Brazil, please.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate your willingness to move us forward. I just wanted to make one comment on 9 and one suggestion on 10. My delegation would agree to retain 9 as is in the text because we do think that an unbracketed version of that text also conveys to the donor countries a sense that a GBFF is operational, and it would perhaps add to the calls for them, donor countries, to increase their contributions to this fund that has been established and is about to start its operations, actually has started its operations. On paragraph 10, I also heard comments of delegations before me alluding to the fact that this, of course, the second GBFF Council meeting might agree on this, and this issue might be solved by the time we reach COP16. That is a valid point. At the same time, Decision 15/15 that we adopted last year in Montreal did ask for the GBFF to have its own equitable governing body, which it does not to date have when it started its operations. This is to say, Mr. Chairman, that what I would like to suggest is that we move this OP from the COP decision to the SBI decision. And as we approve it, hopefully on Wednesday, that paragraph is still current. And it can, of course, add to the guidance provided by the system of this Conference of the Parties towards the JEF so that it moves in this direction when it meets in June in its second GBFF Council meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Brazil. Switzerland, you have the floor.
Actually, I refrain from speaking at the moment. Yeah.
Thank you, Switzerland. Russian Federation, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. So in previous discussions today, we also referred specifically to paragraph 10, and also we have paragraph 9 with operationalization of the GBFF. And we express concern that having some elements of governance and operationalization not being in place, so it's difficult to talk that it's already operationalized. So we understand that it may be fixed by the time we come to COP16, and hopefully it is a case. So that's why for the moment we would like to see paragraphs in brackets, and then of course pending the situation and developments with GBFF by COP16, we may be in position to remove brackets and happily welcome the full operationalization of this fund. Thank you.
Canada, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. While I respect the idea of moving this paragraph, I don't think that we will find a good way forward here based on the conversation right now. And so Canada would not support that this text be moved into the SBI portion of this document. We would support retaining the brackets on both para 9 and 10. Thanks.
Yeah, we are moving with the brackets on 9 and 10, please. Yeah. Colleagues, now we are on para 11, starts. Togo, you have the floor, please.
Thank you so much, sir. Now, craving your indulgence, I just want to ensure that if we keep the square brackets, is it with the proposal that I made? Because I would like the proposal which I made to be there, just to ensure that everything is right. So then you can then put it between square brackets. You will recall that I said for progress made in the process. So we express our appreciation to the facility for the progress made in the process of establishment and operationalization. And we delete the words for the timely. So, for progress made in the progress of establishment and operationalization of the Global Biodiversity Framework Fund. So, of course, I would like us to keep both paragraphs between square brackets, but with the addition which I introduced.
Gabon, you have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you so much, sir. So while we congratulate the donor states, Germany, Canada, Spain, Japan, Luxembourg, the United Kingdom, for the efforts made in terms of contributions to this fund, which has already been created, we do have a note that we have a lot yet to do, because this paragraph is linked with the one we discussed in the preambular part. So what is expected is income of $20 billion a year by 2025, 30 by 2030, whereas the reality is that thus far we only have $236 million. So what our targets are as stated in the preambular, well, the targets of the framework are a great deal higher than what has actually been provided. I'm going to look at target 3, for example, where in terms of conservation we need 30-30, and the Congo River Basin, which is the cradle of mankind. And my country suffers from this today, because today we suffer from the conflict between man and elephant, because we have attempted to focus on conservation for a decade, but in return we haven't received any compensation. And we believe that the targets that we have set ourselves in terms of conservation should also be the same targets we should aim for in terms of financial resources provided. Thank you.
Coming back to Togo, I request Secretariat to please spell out what Togo wanted in the addition part. However, these will be in brackets.
Thank you, Chair. In paragraph 9, the wording for the establishment and operationalization, that phrase we would insert for the progress made in, and then we put timely in brackets. And also we, on the Secretariat's computer, we have paragraph 10 at first meeting of the Council of the Global Biodiversity Framework Fund. And then the paragraph 10 actually become, after the first wording, the second part, the whole sentence would be a factual presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretariat. My request to all the parties to be please focus and be concise on what you want addition or deletion. Okay, I mean, the explanation is good and this thing, but time is a major limiting factor before us. So kindly, there could be many issues related to what you wanted to say, but that part, if you can restrict to the extent possible. I'm not saying that you just simply don't say anything. So I will be very, very thankful to all of you, because many, in their statements, some emotionalism also is being expressed. So that is taking time, please. We have no luxury of time, kindly. This is my appeal. Brazil, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Regarding paragraph 11, my delegation would like to seek clarification from the GEF Secretariat so that we can consider it properly. My delegation would like to ask whether the amount of $236 million refers to the amount of pledges, refers to the total of signed agreements, or refers to the amount that has been effectively paid and available with the trustee. So just that clarification from the Secretariat. Thank you.
Brazil, I'm sorry, I'm not in a position to seek the other clarifications from the GEF, because it will become, they will be saying something and others will be saying some more points to justify their stand. So lack of time. So anyhow, 9 and 10, there is no consensus. We have put in brackets. So let us move forward, and I request you to kindly cooperate, please. European Union, you have the floor, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. We have only one remark to this para, and given that the situation is still in flux before the COP, I believe, we would like to request to keep which amount to about 236 million USD into brackets and solve this at COP. Thank you.
Thank you, European Union. United Kingdom, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think we're broadly happy with paragraph 11, but I just wanted to make sure that we're all really clear on what the GBFF actually is, right? This is one mechanism for meeting, the goals and targets that we've agreed ourselves in the KM GBF, and in particular in Goal D and Target 19. So I think it's critically important that all countries that are in a position to do so work extremely hard to capitalise that fund as significantly as possible. But I don't think there's ever any intention that would be the only mechanism for meeting the 20 billion or the 30 billion target. In fact, I think Target 19 is really clear that would never be the overall aim of that fund. And actually, there was a very helpful side event last night that presented the findings of a paper which is available as INF 10 for this meeting, which made clear that overall funding, that is sort of counted, if you like, under Target 19 in some measures is reaching as high as $18.5 billion. Thank you.
Thank you. Switzerland, you have the floor.
Just suggest to put brackets around the last part where the 236 millions are mentioned for the same reason as the European Union presented. And with that we could move on. Thank you.
Thank you, Switzerland. Brazil, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. My delegation has been cooperative throughout this conversation, and what I would like to flag is that in OP 11 we do have a factual statement, and my delegation has requested clarity as to what these facts are. So my delegation insists on requesting to the GEF Secretariat, through you, Mr. Chair, to understand whether the amount of money here refers to pledges, signed agreements, or paid amount of money already available with the trustee, because that is an important information for us to understand what is meant by contributions made to the capitalization of the GEF. At the same time, we would also suggest, as others did, retaining this paragraph in brackets, because we are sincerely of the hope that more donor countries will pledge, will sign contracts, and will pay their contributions to, or their contributions to the GBFF before we reach Cali. But I insist, Mr. Chairman, on receiving my factual clarification from the GEF Secretariat. Thank you.
Jeff, may I request to take the floor and respond to Brazil's points raised by Brazil?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for giving us the floor again in this session, and good afternoon to all delegates. It's my pleasure to clarify that the total amount of pledges, confirmed pledges by the trustee up until this date is $225 million. We are seeking the clarification from the trustee on the current total deposit at this date. We'll be able, hopefully, to provide before the end of the session. At the beginning of May, the total deposit was around $120 million. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Jeff. Brazil, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks to the Secretariat for this clarification. If the total amount of pledges is $225 million, perhaps then we would need a factual adjustment in the last line of this paragraph, if I'm not mistaken. And I would indeed appreciate receiving by the end of the session the information about how much of these pledges have effectively been paid and made available to the trustee. Thank you.
Thank you, Brazil. DRC, you have the floor.
Monsieur le Président.
Sir, we have to make progress. You had asked us to be direct and frank and to work on the text. But we continue to listen to a great many comments. All of us have comments, but we do need to make progress now. Now, when we're talking here about the Global Biodiversity Framework Fund, the developed parts must be $20 billion per year, and we should not confuse this with what we have in Target 19C, where philanthropists, donors, financial institutions and so forth must also contribute whatever resources they have available. This should be clear, sir.
Thank you, DRC. Japan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As the explanation from the Jeff clearly shows, the pledged amount and the disbursed amount for GBF fund is constantly changing. If we put certain amount at the time of COP16, the next moment it may be increasing. For this reason, I support the suggestion made by the EU. Thank you.
Thank you, Japan. Friends, the para 11 will be in brackets, and then we will move forward to para 12, which starts with the words, invites all developed country parties. Floor is open, please. As there is no request for the Colombia, you have the floor, please.
Gracias. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. After, in the second line, after private sector, we would like to add financial. And so it would be private and financial sector, and the rest would continue as it currently stands. Thank you.
European Union, you have the floor, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. We would like to request here in the first line developed country into brackets and make this language a bit more similar than what was with the invite in the para for the Jeff Trust Fund. And then we also would like to bracket the last line starting from commensurate until target 19, since, as has been stated here before, the GBFF is not the only vehicle to contribute to this target, so that's why we want to have this part of the para deleted. Thank you.
Thank you, European Union. Canada, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I was going to make the points that the EU just made, so I support their intervention. Thank you.
Thank you, Canada, for your crisp comment. China, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. If we bracket developed countries, then we demand that it remains the same as paragraph 8. We keep the developed countries in paragraph 8 in brackets. Thank you.
Thank you, China. Nigeria, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Just want to add voice to that of colleagues on the last portion of this paragraph, because our understanding is that GPFF is not the only mechanism for achieving the quantitative target in 19 A and B. So we'd like this to be put in. We're requesting for it to be deleted, but we're open to have it in bracket till we go to COP. Thank you.
Thank you, Nigeria. South Africa, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Chair. We do not agree to bracketing of developed countries, as the convention is very clear that the obligation is on developed countries. Thank you.
Thank you, South Africa. Cuba, you have the floor.
Gracias, señor presidente.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. We agree with what was said by the previous delegation, and we support the proposal made by China to add in paragraph 8 after parties developed countries. Thank you.
Thank you. Cameroon, you have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président, pour la parole.
Thank you so much for giving me the floor. Cameroon would like simply to state that we believe that para 12 would allow us to evoke the mobilization of resources in accordance with Decision 19 and all of its subparagraphs, and we have taken all of that into account, and we want to make sure that developed countries are, if they're included, then we'd like to see this in brackets. Thank you.
Thank you. Nigeria, you have the floor.
Coach, I'm sorry to come back again, but I just want to speak to the part of the request on bracket on developed country parties, because the target 19A was very clear on who is responsible for achieving this target. And so we do not support the request for bracket to be around developed country parties. Thank you.
Thank you, Nigeria. India, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. India also not agreed to developed countries in bracketing. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, India. DRC, you have the floor.
Oui, merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you for the floor. We support all those countries who've noted that we should not put this concept within brackets. That's already been established. And taking this opportunity of having the floor, perhaps interpretation is going to stop soon. I would therefore like to ask some guidance from you as to how we are going to continue our work, as we note that we have not even reached halfway through the review of this document. Thank you.
Thank you, DRC. Since this para 12 is already bracketed, may I request Zimbabwe, Guatemala, Japan, Cote d'Ivoire, if they refrain from giving statement, but however, I will give if they insist. Zimbabwe.
Thank you, Chair. Can you please help us not to argue about fundamentals that are already in the text of the convention? On that note, it's my submission that we consider not bracketing any specific text, that reads exactly as the articles of the convention. That's my submission. Thank you, Chair, and I don't think we need brackets on this one. Thank you.
Thank you, Zimbabwe. Indonesia, you have the floor.
If I may, Mr. Co-Chair, Mr. Chair, sorry, apologies.
to seek clarification. How would it sound if we delete developed countries? Maybe the Secretariat could help clarify, or the proponents in this regard.
Japan, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. GBF fund can collect sources from all sources, not only from developed country parties. For this reason, I support the intervention made by EU and Canada. Thank you.
European Union, you have the floor, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I don't want to prolong this discussion because I understand that this will be bracketed anyway, but I just wanted to underline that in Target 19A, there is also included language on countries that voluntarily assume obligations of developed country parties. We just wanted to make this invite as broad as possible, broaden the donor base of this fund, and not overcomplicate things, while we have full respect of what was agreed when we negotiated the GBF. Thank you very much.
Indonesia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I remember one colleague in the beginning of our session after the break requested that we don't, dance a lot in this regard. But this is what I'm looking at, and I think this is happening right now. I mean, Article 20 really clarifies that the main responsible countries are the developed countries. If, let's say, we put some additional language and other governments that are in a position to do so, there's the second layer. But the first layer responsible for Article 20 is the developed countries. So now I don't think it is the developed countries who are dancing in this situation, and please don't waste more time on this issue. Thank you.
That's why we are moving with the brackets, because when there is no consensus, the brackets would come in. That is a usual practice in CRPs. So, Liberia, you have the floor.
Mr. Chair, on the issue of bracketing, the wording of Target 19 in Montreal was very clear. So I'd just like to add my word to the previous speaker. There's no point in doing this except we want to have an exercise. Thank you.
Thank you. Nigeria, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, and I'm sorry for coming back on this again, but maybe we can find a middle ground here rather than just keep bracketing everything that we've agreed upon, because Target 19A references the responsibility of the developed countries and from countries that voluntarily assume obligations of developed country parties. Maybe if colleagues from EU can compromise on this, we can add this phrase so that we can move forward with this para without a bracket. That's just maybe a solution. Thank you.
Canada, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. There seems to be a fundamental misunderstanding here about who can contribute to the GBF fund and the positioning of the GBF fund within a broader framework of trying to meet goals under Target 19. So we are not going to resolve this here. Happy to chat to any party about the GBF fund and its relationship to Target 19 and Target 19A, and how the fund is one example of how we can meet Target 19A, but not the whole example. But I would support bracketing this, and I would also just like to echo the DRC's question. I would also like to understand how we will continue our work going forward, in particular, how we will address the SBI question, and if we run out of time, how we will treat the remainder of the text. Thank you.
Thank you, Canada. Brazil, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. And I do agree with what Canada just said, in the sense that there seems to be some sort of misunderstanding regarding the many notions conveyed in paragraph 12. And I would recall that the avenue to deal with this, as we were in COP15, was in Target 19 to deal with the responsibility of developed country parties in one part of the target, the role of the private sector in another one, and perhaps this is something that we can then encapsulate with a big bracket this. And of course, we're not in we're in a plenary. We're not in a contact group or friends of the chair. And later, when we come to this paragraph, we can unpack these different notions and view them separately. And I think this would be a good way forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Brazil. We have only 5 minutes time ahead of us. Gabon, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. We believe that in order to get out of the woods, we could support the proposal just made by Brazil. That would allow us to make progress with this particular paragraph. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabon. As of now, the decision is that para 12 will be in brackets. We'll see what can happen in tomorrow or next in coming days. Two parties have raised the issue of, there is the point that how we can complete, that's a huge agenda we have before us. CRPs, there are 6 CRPs as on today, and 2 more are going to come. So, friends, I will take this issue to the COP Bureau meeting tomorrow morning, and I will seek their guidance and get back to you in the plenary tomorrow morning, and I will inform you whatever the decision that will be taken in the COP Bureau meeting tomorrow, which is going to be held at 8 a.m. So this is my, what I should say, interim reply to the points raised by a few parties. As we have to manage time, even if 1-2 minutes are there, let us utilize properly. Let us move on to para 13. Adjust the Secretariat of the Global Environment Facility. These are the words, starting words, please. Floor is open. No request from the floor. Para 13. Japan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We suggest this para 13 to be put in the bracket. I don't think the urge is quite appropriate. Thank you.
So no more requests from the floor. So the para 13 will be in brackets as suggested by Japan. Norway, you have the floor, please.
Sorry, Mr. Chair. We would like to recognize the fact that the GEF is already doing this work. So we would like to add, after Global Environment Facility, to continue to strengthen its efforts to mobilize resources. And then the rest reads the same. So to continue to strengthen its efforts to mobilize resources. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Norway. Or just will be in the bracket. Yeah. So we have completed this para 13 with brackets and suggestion made by, if I remember correctly, Norway.
The interpreters are now leaving. Thank you.
And, as interpreters will be leaving within a minute or so.
They're leaving now. So they're leaving now.
Yeah. Okay. So I adjourn. Yeah. I adjourn the afternoon session, please. They are already moving. So let us work hard tomorrow and let us try collectively find a way out, please. That is the only thing I can request all the parties. However, I will bring it to the notice of the COP. I wish you a very good evening today, and the session is adjourned, please.